Then the entrances began, ladies and gentlemen, for the dreaded, dangerous, deadly Elimination Chamber. And that match featured Kevin Owens versus Bobby Lashley versus Logan Paul versus Randy Orton versus Drew McIntyre versus L.A. Knight, with everybody saying it. And I'll have you know, Brian, that I went back and double-checked this. I wanted to make sure my figures. Match number 3 began, the bell rang to start that match 54 minutes after the end of match number 2. They had almost an hour in between the end of match number 2 and the start of match number 3, between the exits and the spots and the tourist videos and the goofiness and the interview segment and more entrances. It was literally a 1-hour television program with no fucking wrestling in the middle of the pay-per-view.
We always say, imagine SmackDown without all those pesky commercials.
No, we still got commercials.
Well, not in the middle of the match. Not in the middle of the match.
Well, pretty much goddamn everywhere else. So anyway.
And by the way, how's that tourism thing going to work out? Who's going to go, you know what? We needed a place to go. And Australia looks great. They sponsored wrestling. Let's go.
Yeah, I got in Champaign, Illinois, sitting there thinking, you know, fuck goddamn Chicago. Let's just go over to Australia. Anyway, here's what happened in this match. And there was nothing, these guys are all talents. Some great, some merely just okay, whatever. But they're all talents. They're all stars. They're all over. They weren't doing amateur shit and, you know, dropping and botching and falling all over each other. But there's no way to put a match like this together where it makes sense or it means anything from start to finish, with the ebbs and the flows, the peaks and the valleys of an athletic contest where you're pulling for one side and and cheering against the other. In this aspect, it's guys doing moves to each other until somebody wins, like all the multi-man matches. This one just has a bigger budget and a more elaborate set. But also it puts everybody in the modern wrestling position that guys in the territory days and throughout the history of wrestling would never been caught dead being put in, baby faces, is that baby faces have to fight baby faces, but they treat them just like they're heels. And that makes the baby face that's doing that no better than a heel himself. I will elaborate with some type of detail so you might understand. In days gone by, if a babyface was to compete with another babyface in the ring in any kind of match, and I've talked about this before, they wouldn't immediately start taking chairs and hitting each other over the head or punching each other in the face or trying to, you know, to put each other through furniture and end their careers or whatever the fuck. But today's modern baby faces, when they're working with another baby face, they do the same shit to them as they do to heels. Maybe heels they have an issue with, or heels that have done something to them in the past to elicit, or is where, fuck you, I'm going to kick you in the balls straight off. Do you see what I'm saying, Brian? And then when the fan likes both the baby faces, it disappoints him in one of them, does it not? That the other guy is acting that way. Why does he want to fucking kill goddamn Farquhar there? He's never done anything to him, but he's, you know, taking a turnbuckle hook and he's trying to pull his intestines out. Am I overthinking this?
Maybe a tad. I mean, this is the Elimination Chamber. You have to have baby faces and heels interact with each other like the Royal Rumble.
And nobody has any goddamn psychology for.
The highlight of the match for me wasn't even something they showed on TV. You could see it in the background if you look for it after the fact. There's a video I saw, must have been a Logan Paul
drawing on the Elimination Chamber, fat pictures of Steen.
the running commentary, and then they cut it, and the next thing you see is Steve slamming his head into the thing.
Yeah.
That was the best thing in the whole match, and it wasn't even WWE's. It was the way that was edited and how it was put together. It was great.
Well, but also Logan Paul is a fucking natural. He's a goddamn, just a natural. But the way they did this, LA Knight and Drew started. And good action, and there's an issue, and LA Knight looks good. And the way that they were shooting with the newish camera angles and because of the chamber and etc., very big league look. And then Owens was next in, number 3, and he makes a comeback and starts fucking with Logan Paul in the other pod, and that's where the interaction was going on. Basically, the only thing I want to see more out of this match is Logan Paul and Kevin Owens, because they were the interesting component of this. And as we just mentioned, Logan Paul some way got a black Sharpie or whatever, and he's drawing and writing backwards, like Owens is fat, and pictures of Owens with the fucking, like one of the Weebles that wobble, you fill with sand, but they won't fall over. And that was great stuff. And then number 4 was Lashley, and he comes in and beats up Drew, but that's now we're starting the parts where 2 guys just have to just lay out forever. And because it's a elimination chamber and a cage, they can't even lay out on the floor or under the apron or whatever. You see them just laying there forever while other guys are doing their predetermined, prearranged routines. And so you can't make notes on how this match went because it's guys doing moves to each other back and forth. You can't follow a story. But when Orton came in number 5, business picked up because he's over. People want to see him. He knows how to make a comeback. And then he DDT'd Owens on the platform and sold his back, and that was a story through the whole deal. And at one point here later on, I made note that Orton was the smartest guy in this match because he came in, all of his shit works, nobody ever kicks out of the RKO. He hurt himself doing his own move, but doing it on a hard surface, and everybody knows he's got a bad back, so he was able to sell that and do less in this match than anybody else, but get more response. He was and had a perfect out when he was eliminated. He's the smartest guy in the match. If either they're taking care of him, which I know they are, they're taking care of him, but it has to be him also. Nobody's telling him all that stuff. He picked up a lot of things in his 20 years in the business or whatever. And then number 6 was Logan Paul, and Owens gets right in front of the door. And now Logan Paul's looking like, uh-oh, and doesn't want the door to open and tries to close it when it does. And Owens opened it up and laid into him and closed the door behind him like they're having a fight in a phone booth and blah, blah, blah. And Owens was all over him. And then Logan Paul fought back, but everybody else was laying immobile. And then finally Lashley comes back and spears Logan Paul through the door of the pod, which again looks good until they do that probably another 5 times. And then everybody will yawn about that one. And then finally, Lashley was about to fucking do something to somebody, I believe, and Drew hit the Claymore kick on him and beat Lashley 1, 2, 3. So he's out. And as soon as that happens, LA Knight gets a flurry and hits his finish on Orton and then hits his finish on Drew and looks like he's going to cover somebody. And suddenly AJ Styles is standing there whacking LA Knight with a fucking chair. And the announcer's like, where did he come from? You're in a fucking stadium. The ring is 500 feet away from the goddamn locker room. You couldn't see him coming? With spotlights of goddamn energy power company of Perth was strained to the gills with all those lights. And there was no place that you couldn't see somebody coming to the ring. And AJ Styles comes into the cage that they've had the door open for Lashley. And the announcers, well, the referees can't do anything. It's no disqualification. This is the living epitome and example of Bullshit. The wrong kind of heat, the heat that goes on to promotion. I don't care if it's no DQ. And we're going to see some more of that here in a minute. You can't just blatantly, it kills the cage. It kills the stipulation of the cage. It kills the goddamn credibility of the referees. It gets heat on the promotion. It's not in any way cleverly done. It's just, a guy not in a match runs out in an impregnable cage, finds a way to get in, and beats LA Knight 10 times over the fucking back with a chair. And then Drew just hits him and gives him a Styles Clash on the chair. And then Drew just covers him 1, 2, 3. That's where I said to myself, this is getting burdensome to watch. Do you see what I'm saying about that one?
I agree with you.
There's got to be a way to do it more artfully than that and just make everybody pissed off at the company instead of the heel that's perpetrating what should be an evil, insidious, and creative attack, and instead is just, he just came in and beat him down in front of everybody. And then finally, Orton hit the RKO on Owens and pinned him 1, 2, 3. And then Drew and Orton got in a fight, and then Orton and Logan Paul got in a fight. And then everybody was selling as we passed 30 minutes in this match. And then Logan Paul pulls out brass knucks, and the announcers again, no DQ. Then why didn't somebody bring a Smith & Wesson? Could have been over quicker and easier on everybody. But Logan Paul pulls out the brass knucks, and now it's no DQ, but as he's holding them up, showing them to everybody, like, as soon as I finish showing them to all of you, I'm going to cheat and win the match. Orton RKO's him out of nowhere, 1, 2, 3. I know he's a heel, but I just wish Logan didn't have to look that fucking, well, I guess he's inexperienced too. So he's an inexperienced heel so he can look stupid.
And it's not stupid, he's flashy. He embraces being a heel in character, and he wants the audience to see exactly how heelish he is.
Well, the flashy is standing there for about 5 seconds showing him the knucks and then turning around and getting to business. Stupid is standing there for about 20 to 25 seconds before Orton comes and RKO's him.
He's my favorite person in this match. He was great.
Yes, Logan Paul, he may be one of my favorite people on the whole fucking roster.
He definitely is one of my favorite people in the roster. I just want to see more of him in one-on-one stuff, promo-wise and match-wise.
And stuff he can learn from instead of, this type of...
He's great, though. He's one of my very favorite in the whole business.
But then we were left, then there were two. Randy Orton and Drew McIntyre. And Orton's still selling his back. And he's so good at it because he can sell it, but he can still do his stuff. But even when he's doing the stuff, you can tell he's still being hampered. And they go back and forth, and Drew's got him set up after a spine buster for the Claymore, but Orton can't get to his feet. And then Drew's stalking him and staring at him and standing there as Orton is struggling to his feet and pulling himself up by Drew's knee pad. And it looks like Orton's a goner. Drew's about to do something, and Orton jumps up and hits the RKO out of nowhere. Trademark. And he gets a big pop, and then Logan Paul is still in the cage. And I guess everybody in the stadium could see that, but they're disguising it with the camera angles when AJ came in and that Logan Paul was still there. So it's somewhat a surprise on camera, but it had to piss those stadium fans off that were seeing the whole picture because Logan Paul's still in the ring and he just takes the knucks and knocks Orton out. And then he leaves and Drew covers him. And the referee counts it. And the fans were pissed. Again, the wrong kind of heat. Done in front of the referee. The heat goes on the referee, as the old timers used to say. But more now it goes on the promotion. Because it's lazy booking. And again, if some way the referee couldn't have seen Logan Paul do it, but when the referee is standing there, the guy who's already been eliminated takes a foreign object, knocks their hero out, and then the referee counts it, people are, bullshit. So wrong. People would not buy tickets to see next week's rematch if this was the territory days. Luckily, the WWE is now in position where they only have rematches in the same town maybe once a fucking year. But I just a bullshit finish. 37 minutes of this match that we waited almost an hour to see the start of. And then the main players get taken out by either somebody that's not in the match at all or somebody that's not in the match anymore, blatantly in front of the referees with foreign fucking objects, and oh, you can't do anything because there's no DQ. Well, then they painted themselves in the wrong silo corner.
Well, that really sums it up, doesn't it?
Are you getting bored with me?
Not with you, but with WWE. You know, when the stuff hits, it hits great. But a lot of stuff just feels like it's just holding everything in place. But like you said, it took a while to...
Well,
WrestleMania 3 was like 3 hours and it was like 13 matches. And I'm not saying we should go back to 8-minute matches or 6-minute matches up and down the card, but they used to be a card. I mean, we're going back 100 years now where there was 2-3 matches on a show and an interview.
And that's the thing is that, again, we're not saying there should be 13 matches like in AEW. There's a big difference between 4 and 13 and everything takes, and this is the simplest, most simplistic way outs. And yes, it's working for them, but good Lord, it's a chore for the discerning fan to muddle through.